Just when I was about to go and make a video about Chael Sonnen reporting that he thinks that Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane's going to happen, I'm thinking to myself, when it comes to MMA news, Chael Sonnen, he's about as reliable as a glass hammer. And that's what, I'm not like you, Chael Sonnen. You know, shut up, anyway. And then to my surprise, because I was like, you know what, let's wait a little bit longer, see if anything comes out in the MMA world. Boom, it's official. Holloway versus Poirier 3 is now in stone. It's happening at UFC 318, I believe, and it is for the BMF title. Now, I do not like this fight at all, for both fighters. First things first. Sure, the BMF title, say what you want about it. I don't really care. I mean, sure, it's a way to get the fighters extra money. That's great and all, but no, no. The main reason I don't like this fight is for where they're at in their careers. Holloway is 0-3 against Volkanovski. He basically lost his entire trilogy against him. Well, he did. And he's 0-2 against Poirier. If Poirier wins, yay, you beat a guy you already beat twice. If Holloway wins, then it's like, okay, yeah, you beat a guy who Gaethje knocked out. You knocked out Gaethje. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Not only that, Holloway is coming off a knockout loss to a boxer. Poirier, so you would think that, maybe that chin is cracked, right? Poirier's bigger. I don't know if he has more power than Poirier, but, it's probably right around the same. And, no, I really don't like this fight. What I think they should have done was not only that, I think that what they should have done with Holloway, 100%, I think they should have done Holloway versus Dan Hooker. Because if you look at the rankings here, Holloway, he's number 4 in the lightweight division because he knocked out Gaethje. I don't understand how Gaethje's number 3 out of Max Holloway. That makes absolutely no sense to me. But that's neither here nor there. And I think Max Holloway versus Dan Hooker, because Dan Hooker's coming off an injury. And because that's why he pulled out the Gaethje fight. Holloway's coming off a knockout loss as well a few months ago. But still, if you look at their trajectory or when they're going to come back, it's going to line up. Now, with Poirier, I think it should have been a no-brainer. Poirier versus Gaethje. You even could have... that could be a main event itself. You don't even need a title. And not only that, they're 1-1. And it would be a much more anticipated fight because I think Gaethje should retire as well. If, let's say, they booked that fight in alternate reality, I think it would have been perfect. It would have been beautiful. Because obviously no one believes Gaethje's going to beat Makhachev. Not a chance. I think Poirier, he had a shot. It is what it is. Sure, it was on short notice or whatever, but, neither one of those guys are going to become champions. I think the UFC should have done Poirier a service and be like, hey, here's Gaethje. Finish off your trilogy. Both you guys, legends, warriors, ride off into the sunset. Beautiful ending. Well, beautiful when it comes to cage fighting, I guess your opinion is subjective. But, yeah. And then what they could have done for that, because, I remember in the interview, because I was just watching the interview with Poirier, with, I think it was MMA Junkie, right before this. Poirier was like, yeah, I hit up the UFC for my retirement fight. I wanted it to be in his hometown, or hit my hometown. Makes sense, 100%, obliged at 100% UFC, that's easy to do. Poirier, apparently he even reached out to see if Topuria, because he was like, I hear Topuria's coming up to 155. What's going on with that? And apparently the UFC wanted no part of that. Now, I guess that's a good sign for Topuria fans, because, that's probably what they want, something higher up for him, which is great. Ideally he gets a title shot. And then he asked for Gaethje, and then I guess the UFC didn't want that either. Why? And then Poirier's like, yeah, Max Holloway's the last person I thought I would get called up for. And he's like, I'm down for it, because, I said legends only. But, you listen to the interview, Poirier, it doesn't sound like he's really excited for it. You know what I mean? And it's like, I get Poirier's not the biggest trash talker, and he's not, he's a fighter's fighter. He likes to get there, and he likes to do his thing. But to me, there's going to be no hype on this fight. There's going to be no build up. It's just going to be respect, buddy, buddy. And like I said, it doesn't do anything for the division. We'll still find out Saturday night, but on the Ninth Island, or whatever he says. But no, I don't know. Like, no, I don't like this fight at all. What I think I would have done, like I said, Poirier versus Gaethje. Book it, done. Retirement, both sail off into the sunset. Holloway versus Hooker. Really good striking matchup. They're both taller for the weight class. Not only that, it gives Holloway a chance to go to a different kind of striker because, like I said, Holloway got knocked out by a boxer. I don't want to see him go right back to a boxer. Dan Hooker's more of a kickboxer. I think that would be an amazing fight as well. You could do that for a fucking BMF title easily. And then you do, depending on what they want to do with Paddy Pimblett, I think you bring him up. You could give him Oliveira or Sarukian. And and then you got Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev for the title. And then if not Paddy Pimblett, you could also do Arman Sarukian versus Oliveira for a number one contender fight if Paddy Pimblett wants to take some time off or whatever. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know what the UFC is on when it comes to this matchmaking. Like, at least they gave it to Poirier in his hometown. I mean, that's great. But I'm really frustrated for Poirier because it sounded like he really wanted to try himself against Poirier. And not only that, it's like I said, what does this do for Poirier? What does this do for Poirier's legacy? You beat him twice. And then, let's say Poirier wins. Holloway, knocked out. And then, let's say he gets knocked out by Poirier again. Or he got knocked out by Topuria. Then he's going to get knocked out by Poirier. Holloway's stock in a brand new division, gone down the drain. How the fuck is he going to build himself up? Do I think he's a threat to Makhachev? No. But do I think he's going to be in the top 5 for probably the remainder of his career? Yes. And if you do this fight, it's just stupid. It destroys his fucking chances at becoming, one of the tip of the spear in this division. It makes no sense to me. It really makes no sense to me. I don't understand why the UFC is doing this. Like, I wish the UFC took the fans more seriously in the sense of, like, have your, like, social media guys or whatever, have them go through the forums, have them go through the Twitter, have them go through all this stuff, watch some videos. I know I'm not a fucking superstar or anything, I'm just starting out here. But, like, watch some of the main guys in the YouTube. I don't think anyone was asking for this. And not only that, everyone kind of assumed this was what it was going to be. Like, have your ears to the streets. Don't just do shit like, because you know what this matchmaking is making me feel like the UFC is becoming out of touch with what the fans really want. And especially with UFC, it's a much more intimate sport to me as opposed to all these other team sports where, there's a billion people on the teams. They do what they want. It's all corporate and all this shit. UFC is still on the upcoming. I get they've been around for like 30 years or whatever, but believe it or not, that's really young for like a big sport. Really young. A lot of these like football, basketball, been around forever. And I don't know. I miss the days when the UFC, like, it's kind of coming like boxing. Like, they're not listening to what the fans want. They're just, do this, do this, do this. And it's just, I don't know, it's giving out of touch, as, the kids say. Fuck it up. No, I don't know. Like I said, I'll still watch it. It's still a crazy good fight. Hopefully Max Holloway does not get chinned. Hopefully that, that Topuria loss was just a sign of, hey, he came back to the weight class. He never should have came back to the weight class. I get he wanted to get his belt back, but you should have read the writing on the wall. And no, especially like, 45 to 55. I get it's not like a huge thing compared to like 170 to 185. But Holloway's big for a 45. He's going to be a good big size for 55 as well. But Holloway, man, he looked like a skeleton on those scales. And not to take anything to Poirier. I think Poirier would have won that regardless. You know, maybe it went a little longer if Holloway was at 45 for a while. But I think Holloway's time at 45 was over. I think he tried to, you know, wring out the cloth, see as much money or whatever he could get from that his final moments at 45. In hindsight, it was a bad decision. Holloway fans, obviously, they loved that. They wanted him to do it. They wanted to see their guy get the title back, you know, especially since Volk was out of the picture, you know, but it is what it is. But, yeah, no. That's my thoughts on this new fight. I mean, hey, best of luck to both fighters. You know, it is what it is. You know, I'm not gonna bitch and whine the whole time. Like, I'm more upset, like, with the fight logistically. Like, it's not going to be a bad fight. It's not going to be boring or anything. So the casuals and everyone will still be happy. But I don't know. I just think the UFC could do a lot better when it comes to this, managing careers. And I just hope in the future UFC listens to the streets, listens to the people who brought them up, you know. Like, I think UFC is getting a little, well, not a little, way too corporate lately. And I think they need to, you know, settle down a bit and... I don't know if humble themselves is the right word, but get back to the old ways, you know. I keep saying like 5 or 6 years ago or whatever when, you know, holy shit matchup. Like, you know, even before then, you know, I don't know. I'm a big UFC fan and I hope they do better to the fans and better for the fighters in the future. And yeah, no. That's my thoughts, and thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. See you guys next time.